What's going on, everybody? My name's Nick.
And I'm Joe.
And we're Nick and Joe. Welcome back to an all-new K-Drama Club, where we are talking all about
Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha.
the final 2 episodes. But you know what? Before we get started, maybe we should order pizza.
Yeah, I know this really great app.
Really?
Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called
Domino's. Not sponsored.
Not sponsored.
Really great sauces.
Yeah, really. The garlic sauce, the hot sauce, you can put it right on the pizza.
Unbelievable.
Deliver it right to your door.
Amazing. Who can
know.
say? I hope people get it, or they're just going to think it's an ad. All right. Well, welcome back to the K-Drama Club. We have been watching Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha all the way through, and of course, it has come to an end. The final 2 episodes, which we're very sad about, but this always happens with the things that we love. So we're going to run through the 2 episodes, what we thought about it, and probably give our overall thoughts on the whole series. So if you've watched Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha along with us, So if you've been watching Hometown Cha-Cha-Cha and you just watched the final 2 episodes, this is the video for you. If you want to go back and watch our previous episodes, feel free, go check them out. All right, so where do we begin?
I guess we begin with episode 15.
Yes.
Which was definitely like the saddest, most emotional episode in the entire series.
Here's the thing about this show. For the most part, super like lighthearted show with some serious parts.
Yeah.
But these last 2 episodes were like the most emotional, the most hard-hitting of the whole show. And it just comes at you hard. And you wouldn't expect a show that hasn't been pulling on the heartstrings like that all season to hit that hard. But man, there was a lot to take
There
in.
was a lot. And I just feel like they were like building up for the entire show, and then they just like unloaded everything on you all at once. So like, I just feel like there was no real like gradual build up. Like the story was kind of happening.
Right.
And then it was just like, oh yeah, all the stuff we talked about the whole series, and it just like unloads it, and like pretty much just in episode 15.
And it's all so heavy.
It's very, very heavy.
All the way to the end of episode 15.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, okay, what are all the things? First of all, we find out about Tushik's past.
Yes.
Very tragic thing, and as I think you said multiple times, not really his fault.
Not really his fault,
Yeah. Especially once you get all the details. Like, he's not really responsible for that security guard having invested all his money. In fact, he advised him not to.
Yeah.
It's just a very tragic situation. And then, you know, the car situation where his friend decided to drive that night, and unfortunately they got into an accident.
Yeah.
That all comes to a head. So finally, figure all that out.
Yeah, and you get all the ties to how like the director is like the cousins with the woman that Tushik was friends with in college, and like so that man was he kept saying his like brother-in-law.
Yeah.
And how like the guy who's working on the production of the show, his father was the security guard who ended up in. So all these like connections end up like tying together. And that's what makes episode 15 like very emotional, and then him telling the story to Hyejin, and her kind of like supporting him, felt like, oh, that must have been really, really hard for you to go through and all that. So like all of that comes to a head, and I don't really.
One of the saddest parts about that is when it's actually like when he's finally meeting her for the first time in a while. Like she comes to Gonshin and they get to like meet, and I think she wants to kind of like apologize or like just meet up with Tushik to resolve the whole situation or clear the air, I guess. And the son, and when he like meets the son for the first time, having not seen this kid since he was a very young baby, when he's like saying like, oh, do you like dinosaurs? And she's also telling him, oh, that's your Uncle Tushik. Like that was a very emotional scene. Like, and he's just so proud that he knows so many long dinosaur names. Like that was just like, just kill me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there was, and then even like further when it goes into like the part where he's like talking to his friend who had passed away, like like he's having like the vision kind of like the guy like almost not like, and like the same thing with the woman. It's like I think that Tushik had to realize that it was not his fault, and him like talking to his friend in that way was him like reckoning with himself and like realizing
like
that,
what would your friend have told you?
Exactly. Like he like you're thinking like he doesn't blame me for this, or he wouldn't have blamed me for this. And the woman says like, I'm not gonna say that I am sorry for the things that I said back then, but I just want you to know that I don't resent you anymore. Which I think was kind of She probably should have said sorry for the things that she
said.
said.
I thought that was interesting, and I was wondering if that could have been like a translation thing.
But I think that's probably part of her character as well, where she's just very like, she like has like her convictions, and she's like, I'm not gonna like go back on the things that I said or something.
She could have meant it more like, I can't take back the things that I said.
I can't take back the things. Like, I'm not gonna like sit here and be like, I'm so sorry for the past.
Yeah. Right.
But I'm gonna tell you that like I don't feel that way anymore.
Right.
So it was definitely more like that, and then. Yeah, I thought some of the scenes I thought were like the scene of him like talking to his friend, I thought was a little bit weird, but when I think about it, like it's like him like thinking basically talking to himself, but realizing like what his friend would have said if he had a chance to talk to him about it.
So emotional.
Yeah, very emotional.
So that situation kind of gets resolved. Hyejin actually gets to hear the whole story because that's how we get to hear the whole story, and that comes through. And then meanwhile, there's other happy situations happening. First of all, the love triangle, or the former love triangle, village chief and the owner of the restaurant, they're getting back together officially.
They're officially back together.
And they tell their son that they're getting back together officially. And Ijun is very like, he's a square a little bit. He's a little bit of a nerd, and he's like very like polite and almost like too old for his age in the way that he acts. But he goes to leave the house.
And he lies about where he's going.
He said he's going to go hang out with Bora, but he doesn't show up home. So now, all right, everybody's out looking for him.
Yeah.
And eventually they find him, and he's at the playground just like crying. I think it's very sweet that Bora finds him.
Yeah.
And he's just like crying, and she's kind of like giving him crap. They're like an old married couple almost, but they're like 5. And he is so sad. Well, he's happy that his parents are getting back together.
Yeah.
But he's like overcome with emotion because he says like he always wanted to just have dinner together as a family and be together as a family, even if it wasn't his birthday and even if it wasn't like
he didn't win no award.
Yeah. And when he tells that to his parents, like that just like rips your heart open when he's saying that. Yeah, and that kid's such a good actor.
Yeah, that kid needs an Oscar or something.
Yes.
That was another emotional scene. And off of that, there's a whole love triangle situation.
Yes.
But the teacher decides that she's going to go tell her friend and confess to her friend about like what her feelings were back then.
And you caught the very clever line when they're talking about the wisdom teeth, because she's going to have her wisdom teeth out.
Yeah.
And they say something like, you have to have them out or it's always going to be a nagging pain or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And they were talking about, or a hangnail or something like that. Yeah. And I was like, if you don't rip it out, it's just going to hurt forever. Yeah. And then so she goes to tell her friend, but her friend already knew. Her friend was wise to it.
And still accepts her as a friend.
Yes. Yeah. So that was sweet. You were right about that.
That was very good resolution.
Yeah. And that was in episode 15, I think, and then we never really get anything more on that in the last episode. So like that story kind of came to an end like earlier than the rest of the story.
It's kind of, but you do see her like included in the other like scenes where like the people from the town are gathering, and I think that just signifies, okay, she's like a member of this extended family now, which is the best resolution we can ask for her.
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm surprised that the story of like her story didn't end with like broader acceptance, I guess. I guess it was acceptance from the person who meant the most to her.
Right.
But
we can only assume.
You can only assume, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And maybe like that part of her story is like not being ready for that or something. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like it seems with her past, she has some like traumatic experience with her mother and her brother, so maybe it's not, not comfortable with.
Totally.
Like talking with a lot of people about it. So.
Right. Before we get to the most sad thing, because there's one more giant sad thing, I think, one major thing that happens at the end of the episode. But we should talk about one happy thing that happened was Hyejin's friend and the cop.
Oh, yeah.
We figure out the third mystery of Gonshin, who won the lottery.
Yeah.
And it was him.
And he did win the lottery, but it was weird because a couple episodes before he was saying how he doesn't have a lot of money, but it's because he's just been donating.
He's just overall great guy.
yeah, too good.
He's like, I hope you think it's like he shows her his bank statements, which I think is pretty funny. He's like, I still have a little bit. We can build our house here and stuff. Those two are moving fast.
Yeah, very fast.
They're talking about how many kids they want to have. They're talking about building a house together.
House on the hill.
It's a lot.
Yeah, overlooking the ocean,
But it does explain him buying all the fancy designer goods.
Yeah.
Maybe she'll accept more now that she knows he's rich.
That's true.
So that was an interesting resolution to that, I guess.
Yeah.
You had predicted that at one point, I think. I think we were just saying everybody won the lottery.
Exactly. This guy won the lottery, this guy won the lottery.
Yeah.
But I think at some point one of us did say that he was probably the guy who won the lottery. I think it was when he was buying all the expensive stuff. You kind of knew.
Yeah.
But then he played it off like he was selling his collectibles
to afford it.
Yeah. So like it was still kind of like unsure, but
yeah. Well, now we have to talk about one of the saddest moments of the show.
Which was?
Gamri.
Oh yeah.
Passes away at the end of episode 15, which is very hard to even talk about now, I will say. Mm-hmm. You don't see it coming.
Yeah.
Well, she's having like a day with her friends, basically, because the film crew has left. She has her house back. And these ladies are always like kind of catty with each other, and it's kind of a funny dynamic. And finally, they decide to have a sleepover. Mm-hmm. And through the sleepover, they're just like talking about their lives, wondering about like regrets.
They're just like reflecting.
Reflecting, yeah. And she goes on about how happy she is with her life and how satisfied she is because she just got her teeth fixed. She ate so much squid.
Yeah.
All the while, she had been taking care of Tushik while delivering him food, really. Mm-hmm. But he was locked away in his house because he was ashamed of the whole situation at the time. Mm-hmm. So she was just, steadily bringing him food and leaving him food, taking care of him as always. But finally, at this sleepover with her friends, she's just reflecting on her life, talking about how satisfied she is. And then in the morning, the friend goes to wake her up and she passed away.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that you could kind of see it coming, I think. I think it was...
Could see it coming.
Yeah, like that whole scene, when she was talking like that, I knew.
Okay, I had a feeling, but I was also like, that's not what's happening here, right? And then they cut to the next day, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
But then it was like, that's when it happened.
Yeah. But it's like so everyone leaves her house, and her friends, like assuming that she's gonna be lonely, decide that they were gonna go visit her because like she had all these film crew, all these people around her house all the time, and then she's going back there to be alone again. Yeah. And that's why they decided to have a sleepover. But it would make sense that like she had like this major, she's gonna be in the TV show, all these things happening, and then she goes back to her like life, and then her friends are like, oh well, she's gonna be lonely, and that ends up being like their last night together.
Right. Mm-hmm. And it's even more heartbreaking that she didn't really get to talk to Tushik.
Yeah.
Like, since that big incident, which I'm sure is hard for him. That was just kind of hard. That was a lot.
But I think he gets his like resolution when he reads the letter that she wrote for him when she was delivering him food.
Yeah. So we should jump to the next episode because the next episode opens with her funeral. Yeah. And her son comes to town. Mm-hmm. And actually, there's a really good scene with Tushik and the son. Yeah. And I think it's a moment for Tushik too because he had all this death and loss in his life that he always blamed himself for. And then when the son is just like so regretful about how his relationship with his mother, I think it was like a reflection for Tushik.
Yeah, like he was like this guy's saying all this stuff, and Tushik's like, she didn't feel that way about you. Right. She was super proud of you. Like, what are you
she always
about?
held her kids as the highest priority.
She loved you. Like she was so proud of you. She talked like amazingly about you, all this stuff. And I think that you're right. Like that made him realize, like, wait, this is how I feel, and all these people probably would never have thought that about me either. Yeah. So.
And they have a big celebration for her life.
Yeah.
With the photos like she wanted, and good food. Everybody's just gathered at the house eating. Even the director and his producer come. Mm-hmm. And so that was a very nice gathering.
Yeah, and then Tushik is very okay, surprisingly, during the whole thing. But he even says, I don't think it's really set in yet. It's not sinking in. I still can hear her voice. I feel like she's still here.
And Tushik and Heejin are both, experiencing it together because they both knew her.
Exactly.
And I think that's an interesting dynamic now that she is fully also a member of this community and this family. And she's experiencing loss as well.
Yeah, and it seems like at every turn, it's like when his grandfather passed away, he didn't have anyone to lean on. When things happened with the security guard and then his friend passed away, his friend's wife, who you would think would be the person that they would lean on each other, she kind of pushed him away. Mm-hmm. So it seems like in these losses, he's never really had a person there to talk to or lean on. Yeah. So in that situation, he finally had someone who was there for him and was understanding and who has also experienced that similar kind of loss.
Right.
So I think that it kind of change the dynamic. And that's why, like, when he did read the letter that she wrote, that like the company wrote for him, that he was able to kind of like, you know, fully like experience his grief and like cry.
Right.
And all that.
And not just run away from it or hide or, you know, whatever he might have normally done in the past.
Yeah.
So that was super sad, and then it continued to be super emotional into the next episode. Before we get to like the big love story, the other little side love story that ultimately gets resolved is the director and the producer.
Yes.
They both. It's like they could have done more with the storyline. I think
it's a little like cat and mouse. I feel like.
Yeah, but eventually it does get resolved, and he
kind of doesn't really say his feelings. He just kind of like hints at it. I feel like.
Or I guess they're gonna go on a date or something.
Yeah, exactly. Like he kind of, but I still feel like it was kind of ambiguous.
I think they were definitely going to end up together. He says something about, don't talk to this guy.
They were definitely going to end up together, but like if you're a real person in that situation, he wasn't like, hey, like I have feelings.
He could have been much more straightforward. Exactly.
It was so like I think if like in the story, like obviously they're gonna end up together. That's like was pretty clear. But if you're like her,
right?
Like it's still a little like
you're like, what the heck, man? Just like go
just say something or like so.
But back to our two protagonists.
Yes.
Things are accelerating quickly here because they all of a sudden decide they want to get married.
They want to get married.
Individually, separately from each other.
Yeah.
And Hyejin says that she's going to propose to him. So she's planning this whole thing. And I thought it was very funny when her friend goes, you're making all these plans and you're getting so excited, but what if he says no?
Yeah.
Like, she never even considered that.
And then that almost is, they make it seem like that's what's happening too, but it was just like he was disappointed.
Because he didn't get to propose, because he was also going to propose with a necklace.
And not a ring.
Yeah.
A little interesting.
Who can say?
Who can say? But I would say that episode 16, like, a lot of the moments with them two were like so cringe.
You thought they were? I thought it was not as cringe as it previously has been.
Yeah, I just like, I don't know. There were just some parts where I'm just like, all right, like, like they gotta relax.
Well,
a little
they
bit.
really put the pedal. I think it's like making up for the whole beginning of this series where they were just like not getting it with each other.
I kind of liked that dynamic though.
Yes.
Like,
well, now they're happy.
I liked the kind of sarcastic, like playing off each other dynamic, and I feel like once they were like together,
you're over it.
You lost a lot of that, and it was just like all like so happy and they were.
Maybe that's life.
Maybe that's life.
They're making lists about who does the laundry, who does the dishes.
I just I liked like the kind of like snarky dynamic between them, and I just feel like it was like totally lost.
Perhaps as they grow older together, they will come back to the snark.
Yeah, maybe.
Once they are more settled in their love for each other. We did not get to see her family again. Well, actually, she calls her stepmother.
Yeah, she goes to visit her.
She goes to visit her, yes, which together. I thought was so odd that the father wasn't there.
Yeah, there was like a whole thing where she like went there to see them, but he was like out at the store or something.
And they have a very nice heart-to-heart moments and kind of talk about, it wasn't just hard being a stepdaughter, it was also hard being a stepmother.
Exactly. And it's kind of like more understanding and more acceptance that she was previously kind of like unwilling to give Hyejin. So
everybody getting resolved here.
Exactly. The other thing that I thought was kind of weird is that job offer that she got, like, never really came, like...
And they don't tell us that, so they want us to be in suspense, like she has this big decision to make, and then when she sits down with Tushik, like, we kind of get like almost like a flashback to that conversation that they had, where she's like,
obviously,
I'm not going to take the job. Well, no, here's the misdirection they do. She's going to go to a conference in Seoul.
Yeah.
So she's talking about, yes, I'm going to Seoul. Yeah. And we think that it's about the job, but it's not.
Her friend is like, you're only going to be gone for 3 days.
Right. Yeah. And that whole packing situation was funny. Yeah. When he's talking about how much she's packing.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
But, so, like, I expected that to be, like, a much bigger conflict, I guess. They introduced it like it was, like, a big conflict, and then it was just, like they didn't even talk about it for 2 episodes.
They had no more time for conflict.
It was just,
she has to stay in the town now.
They could have used the time that they spent on the Domino's ad.
Right. That's true.
But I will say that the Domino's ad in the show was one of like the most jarring experiences I've ever had, like watching, because like they don't do that.
They cut to the app and everything.
Yeah, and like I just was like, when I was
Where
watching
is there a Domino's in this seaside town?
Exactly. But when I was watching it, I was like, this is crazy. Like, but then like I started to think about it. Like, imagine like it just went to commercial break and they just like played that as like.
A commercial.
It was a commercial. It was a commercial in the show.
Yeah.
But like, it wouldn't bother. I think it was just like I'm watching it on Netflix, and like it's like they're playing a commercial like out of nowhere,
Right.
and it was just a very.
But it's
like,
our characters that we love.
Exactly,
in a Domino's
but it
commercial.
just like plays as part of the show, like
hey,
like nothing happened.
That Domino's placement paid for the show. That's why we have great shows like this.
That's true. That Domino's placement made me order a pizza right now that I wish I was eating.
That's
but I'm
true.
waiting to eat until after we're done.
It was a lot more aggressive than the usual, like, open the flip phone
like
and write over the thing.
It was more than like product placement.
Yes, for sure.
But
it was funny.
It was funny. Thinking back, like I'm like it's pretty funny. We just don't have that like in like American shows
Not
ever.
as blatant.
Yeah, there would never be like an advertisement like
now
that.
In YouTube videos,
That's true.
you see that all the
You
time.
see it all the time, exactly.
It was funny. But hey, our two protagonists, they're in love.
They're getting
married.
They're gonna
Everybody
have
in the
kids.
town is excited about it.
And yeah.
No, they definitely want to have kids. Like, they want to get on this kid stuff now. I was very surprised about that. She's like, come on, we got to get started.
They're getting older.
It's crazy.
They're like in their mid-30s. They want 2 kids. They gotta, yesterday. They gotta get started yesterday.
As a show, fantastic story. Loved it. Out of the maybe 4 dramas that I've watched, this probably takes the second place.
Second place after
Crash Landing on You.
Crash Landing on You.
This had so much Crash Landing on You DNA in it, I think.
Yeah.
Especially, the one thing I think about is like the villagers, or the people who live in Gongsun, are very similar to like the North Korean soldiers in Crash Landing on You. It's this group of people, and like North Korean villagers in Crash Landing on You, like those ladies, you don't think you're gonna like or care about these characters when you first start watching the show. You think it's like the protagonists and who are these people on the side that are kind of annoying. But then as the show goes on, you learn more about each character in a very like organic, sentimental way.
Yeah.
And suddenly you care about everybody in the show.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that, like, I like the show a lot too, and it's definitely one of my favorites that I've watched, but I don't think I like it as much as I like Crash Landing on You or as much as I like Itaewon Class.
Yeah, it's definitely fighting Itaewon Class. I think the thing about Itaewon Class and this show and Crash Landing on You, I think I'm putting it in like how much emotional toll. I never once, I don't think, had any kind of tears in my eyes during Itaewon Class. Crash Landing on You for sure, like often. And then this show, just at the end, it's just like you're a whole mess at the end. So like that is what I'm rating it at. Like the emotional effect on me, those two. But in Itaewon Class, I didn't really have like I don't remember having like an emotional reaction.
Yeah. Yeah. But there's one more thing we forgot to talk about.
Which is?
Oh Yoon got to get to go on the music show. Remember? He got
that's right.
As like a legacy performer.
Now, if you go back and watch previous episodes, like first episode of K-Drama Club, I was saying like something's gonna happen. The director of the show is coming to town. He's gonna get some kind of deal or whatever, get his career back. I literally called this, and I'm so glad that he got that at the end, and that Judy only cares about if Doss is gonna be on the show at the same time.
Yeah. But everybody got their endings.
Everybody got their endings for sure. Mostly positive endings, resolution, all good vibes by the end. But wow, the emotions of those last 2 episodes were crazy.
It was a lot for sure.
And now we have to find another drama to watch.
But before that.
So folks, if you have a drama to recommend to us, please let us know in a comment down below. We like watching new dramas. That are currently airing. We are definitely waiting for Snowdrop. Who knows if that's going to be on Netflix or not.
Who knows if I'll be in the United States when that comes out.
That's true. We don't even know when that's going to come out. So if you have other suggestions in the meantime, you want to see us do more K-Drama Clubs, let us know in a comment down below. Please like this video if you did enjoy, and subscribe. Go back, watch some of our other K-Drama Clubs or K-pop reactions if you like that. But for now, that's going to be it. My name's Nick.
I'm Joe.
And we're Nick and Joe. You just couldn't wait, huh?
Gotta eat it on camera.